Welcome to another episode of Resilience Rising with Naturally Cinnamon. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Whatever time of whatever day it is while you are watching or listening to this episode. Like it, love it, share it, rate it, comment, depending on the platform you're on. But most important of all, subscribe or follow. I am Naturally Cinnamon, therapist, life coach, resilience cultivator, and the founder and CEO of Jamila Wellness LLC, where women go to be well and live beautifully. Please enjoy this formally recorded episode of Woman Law Wednesday as I nurse myself back to health. I'm sure you can hear the congestion. Please take care of yourselves as this is the time of year for colds and flus and all kinds of other nastiness. Enjoy. How do you get over hurt and pain? Now, let's be honest. That's a question that many people ask themselves, not just women, men too. It's a question that a lot of us ask ourselves, and we ask our friends, and we ask our family members, and we just ask over and over and over and over again. How do I get over this? How do I get over this? How do I get over this? Here's the first thing that I'm going to say about that. One thing that you can't do is force yourself to move past the feeling that you have without acknowledging the feeling that you have. Acknowledge the feeling that you have, like own it. If you're feeling hurt, you don't have to put on a face and a facade and perform to pretend as though you're not hurting, to fake as though that thing never bothered you, whatever that thing may be. And to, because we have this, we're a strong woman. That's the big thing. We have to be that strong woman. It's a compliment that we pass amongst each other. Girl, you are such a strong woman. I don't know how you're dealing with this. And what happens is when we think of being a strong woman as being a compliment and we receive that as some sort of accolade, we continue to say, well, I got to be a strong woman. Well, I have to portray myself as a strong woman. I have to behave as though this thing doesn't bother me. I have to behave as though this isn't affecting me. And that may not be the case. That may not be true. It may not be accurate. And you may be, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, you may be lying to yourself. And if you're lying to yourself, what's the point in lying to yourself when the truth is you are hurt, you have been caused pain, and you'd like to move past it? Well, step one, stop acting like it doesn't exist. Okay? Stop acting like that hurt and that pain doesn't even exist. The question that was inboxed to me and asked, how do you get over hurt and pain? The first point that I just made is that we as women tend to want to hold on to this accolade that we are strong women. We hold on to this like it's a trophy, like it's a badge of honor, so to speak, that, oh, we're the strong woman. Well, being so strong, it actually lends itself to the thought or the notion that things don't bother us and things don't hurt us and things don't get under our skin because we have tough skin. And girl, shake it off and move it on and move on. And that's not worth your tears and all of those other different mindsets that come along with this I'm a strong woman mentality. And we pass it amongst each other like it's like we're toasting with a glass of wine. Here, girl, strong woman for the day. Yeah, girl, you're a strong woman. All these strong women, blah, 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 blah. And we do it unconsciously and we don't stop and think about what does that mean in those moments where I'm not really feeling like nothing has gotten under my skin. I really feel like this thing really has gotten under my skin. So does that mean that I'm not a strong woman? Does that mean that I don't get some accolades for moving forward with my life? No, it doesn't mean any of those things. It means that you're acknowledging what you're feeling. And we don't do that very much. We don't stop and acknowledge what we're feeling and allow that to be our truth in that moment. If anybody is with me and knows that you've done that, just let me get an amen real quick. Amen. I do it to myself all the time. all the time. I'm like, nope, I can't let this bother me. Nope, I got to keep moving forward. Nope, I'm going to swallow that up. Nope, I'm going to keep it moving. But I am in pain and I have been hurt. And this thing did bother me. That's the truth. That's the reality of this. This is a truth. I am hurting right now in this moment. Instead of being, that's what we do. So that's point number one, is the strong woman point. A wall is put up. That's our defense. That's our defense. I'm hurt. I'm a strong woman. I've got tough skin, but I'm going to put this wall up just in case something tries to penetrate my skin. It's got to get past that wall first. Not letting it happen. I don't have time. Biggest thing we say, ain't nobody got time for that. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to be hurt. I don't have time for pain right now. What you're actually saying is, I'm not going to allow myself to feel what I'm feeling and process what I'm feeling and get some healing to what I'm feeling so that I can move forward. I'm just going to stand and say, I'm just going to move forward and I'm going to act like what's happening doesn't bother me. You are not being your true, authentic self. What a strong woman does is acknowledges that something is hurting, tries to figure out, okay, how do I heal from this that has hurt me? And then so I can move forward, but move forward effectively, move forward in who I am and move forward in my authentic self and in my truth. That's what a strong woman does. A strong woman does not say, hey, let me brush that off that shoulder. That did not bother me. That's not a strong woman. That is not a strong woman. What is that, you ask? That's a delusional woman. That's a woman that is not being true to herself. And if you ever run into anybody that can't be true to self, how do you ever think they're going to be true to you? Let me move forward because I actually dipped into part 2 just then. So first point I want to make is, how do we get over hurt and pain? Number one, acknowledge the hurt. Douse the superwoman syndrome for a moment. Own what you feel in that moment. Acknowledge it. Give it words if you have to. Give it an expression if you have to. Give it a sound. Iyanla always says, give it a sound, and so we can acknowledge that has happened. So that's the first thing. Acknowledge that you are hurt. Acknowledge that you are in pain. Next thing. Here's the answer that I give to clients all the time that they roll their eyes at me, and I know they're going to roll their eyes at me. I know it. I would probably roll my eyes at me if I didn't understand it. So point 1 was what? Acknowledge. Point 2 is give it time. Give it time. I know. That sounds like such a generic answer. That sounds like so, you didn't put any thought into that. Give it time. How they say time heals all wounds. I don't know how I feel about that phrase. Time may not heal all wounds, but it definitely gives you a perspective on a lot of things. That is one thing time definitely does. But here's the thing about giving something time. Giving something time. Think of, and I used this analogy for another thing earlier today, but I'll use it for this too. When you have a desired result, when there's a product when there's something you want to produce, let's say it's growing a tree or a plant or a fruit or a vegetable, anything like that. You take some seeds and you plant them in soil. Hopefully it's fertile soil, but that's a whole different topic. You take some seeds and you plant them in soil. What's next? Do you blink twice and your desired product is there? No. That's not how that happens. It takes time. Things happen in that time. Now see, that is the biggest point. So when I say to my clients often, give certain things time, I'm not saying just sit back and cue Jeopardy music and I'm just going to sit there like this. That's not what it means to give something time. Giving something time, giving yourself time to process that hurt and that pain, the person that caused it, the action that caused it. What does that feel like? What does that look like? Is it a trigger from something else that has happened before? Or was it a fear that was innate to you and it all of a sudden showed up and now you've got to process? It's a lot to process. It's a lot to process. But give it time. Allow yourself the time that you need to process what you're going to process. Now, based on your makeup, based on your spirituality, based on your level of wellness, based on the actual action that happened that caused you hurt and pain, it's going to take different people different amounts of time over different things. One person may get divorced tomorrow and 6 months from now they're ready to date again. Another person may get divorced on the same day and it's going to take them 6 years before they're ready to date again. It's different, but it still takes time. Here's the key, and I'm going to ask this question. During this time, what are you doing? That's what you need to focus on. That's what you need to focus on. Most times when I have clients that come in after something has happened to them, their biggest thing is during that time, they spend their money on a session with me and think that I'm going to allow them to spend that session talking about the past person, the next person, the other person. No. They didn't foot your bill. You're here for you. You paid your money to come here and be here for YOU. You. So why are we going to sit here and talk about this other person and what they did and what they didn't do and what you think their perceptions might have been and what I thought they meant this when they said that? I'm not doing that with you. That's what your girlfriends are for. That's what your homegirls are for. The commiserating, that's what they're for. But during this time that you've decided to take for yourself, we're going to do something productive during this time. And we're going to focus on you. So my question is, what are you doing during that time? Really, what are you doing during that time? For those of you who are still with me, type in some things that you do to find yourself some center, some balance. And when you need to regroup, what are some things that you do? You know, a lot of people do a lot of different things. Like I said, it depends on things that you like. Now, what are you going to do during that time? What are you doing during that time? Are you focusing on your health? Are you, traveling? I don't know. What are you doing during that time? Therapy. Do not think for one moment that myself, a life coach and a therapist, don't have my therapist on dial. I have my therapist. I have myself a therapist as well. So thank you. Yes. Never shy away from getting therapy. Seek the help that you need. That's like me going to the gym and I have a certain goal in mind and I need to get myself together, but I don't know how to use the machines. I need to seek somebody to help me through this, help me learn my stuff. Also, another good one, taking the time to learn yourself. Like I said, if you can't be real with you, you can't be real with another person. If somebody can't be true to them, they can't be true to you. So if you don't know you, how can you help someone else know you? How can you set boundaries in place that work for you when you don't even know what works for you? Absolutely. Learn you. Absolutely learn you. That is, you are your best project. You are your best project. And oftentimes we as women, because we are the nurturers and we are the supporters and we are the carers of other people, we tend to put learning them and their needs above learning our own. And we've got to stop that. That doesn't mean be selfish. That doesn't mean turn inward. That doesn't mean stop being a nurturer. That doesn't mean stop being someone who supports and cares for other people. That just means you have to know yourself well enough to know what your limits are, how far you can or cannot go. That, when like I'll say to somebody, look, yeah, that's too much for cinnamon. That may not be too much for somebody else, but that right there, that's too much for cinnamon. Because I know my limits. I know my limits in a lot of places. There's still a lot of places I'm learning me. But for the most part, there are certain areas that I've tested the limits in my 20s. And now here I am in my late 30s. I know what those limits are. So I can communicate effectively to another person what those limits may be. Absolutely. Shonda said that she usually keeps busy with things outside of the house where you can be alone in your thoughts. That sounds a lot like self reflection. That sounds a lot like removing yourself from distractions so you can reflect on the things that you need to reflect on. Wonderful and absolutely healthy. That doesn't, the keeping busy part, if it's a healthy busy, good. If it's an avoiding busy, you really not, it depends on what kind of busy you are. Keeping busy, getting out of the house, setting yourself aside from the norm of seeing the same things and being in the same routine over and over again. Sometimes it's nice to get out of the house, or it's nice to get out of the same scenery from time to time and get out and think and hear your thoughts, hear what's going on in your head. It's nice to know what your thoughts are so they don't surprise you sometimes. Our thoughts surprise us sometimes. But I know mine surprise me from time to time. But it's nice to have the time and the space to reflect on our own thoughts and know what's going on in our head. That's wonderful, Shonda. Andrea, thank you for joining us. Usually reading or late workouts. Reading. I've gotten back into reading in 2017. It was one of my goals. And already here we are in May, and I think I've read about 4 books, which is a lot more than I usually would read. But I like to read. So that's something that I've done to kind of try to recenter myself. So it's wonderful that you also do some reading and the late night workouts. That's also good too. Physical health, keeping our health up to speed, I guess, up to snuff. Keeping our health good also helps our mental wellness and our emotional wellness as well. So definitely a walk, a jog, some jumping jacks, do something. Being physical is always great. And I'm talking to myself because I need to do a whole lot more on the getting physical side of things. So here's a list I want to read to you. It's 9 different things. It's actually 10 things to do as a single. And it's not just as a single. I don't think it's just as a single. It's as a married person, as a woman in general. There's the things that we need to focus on. The name of the list is 10 things to do as a single. Honestly, I only wrote down 9. I missed one somewhere in there. So I'm just going to read you 9 things to do during the time. What are you doing with the time? Here are some options. Deepen your relationship with God. Yeah, I went over hurt and pain from a past relationship. And one thing that I noticed when I did get quiet and self-reflect was that I was kind of far away from God, a lot farther than I was before the start of that relationship. And I wanted to get back to where I was, or at least closer and then farther. So definitely deepen my relationship with God. Number 2, seek to have a whole life. Whole, WHOLE. Whole, complete, well-rounded. Seek to have a whole life. What might be missing? What do you think may have been missing? Do you think may be missing in your life? Try to seek to fill that gap or fill that hole or fill that void, and see whatever that may be for you. It may be, my health isn't so great, so I need to focus on that so that I can have a whole, complete, well-rounded life. It could be that. I don't know what it is for you. But if you find yourself with a gap during this time that you are looking for healing for hurt and pain, deepen your relationship with God, seek to have a whole life. Those are some options. Here's another option. Learn how to love yourself. Learn how to love yourself. And Lynette touched on that earlier when she said one of the things that she does during her time is learn herself. Absolutely. How do you love someone you don't know? Learn yourself and then learn how to love yourself. One of the things that I have a hashtag, I am unapologetically me. And um, cheap, yeah, cheap plug here. I am unapologeticallyme.com t-shirts. Okay. Cheap plug over. But love yourself. Learn how to love yourself. That's one. The next point, exercise. Exercise your body, but also exercise your mind. And that goes back into something Andrea said earlier, reading. Reading. And not just reading. And look, a Zane book here and there is nice. It's cool. Get into some fiction literature. That's cool. But every now and then it's nice to read something that will build you. We're reading a lot of Christian novels, and those novels build us. There was one particular novel that focused specifically on building relationships and what it looked like. And yes, the novels were fiction, but you could walk away with it with some real practical ways to build your relationships and to become closer to God, and what it looked like to pray and things like that. So exercise your body. Absolutely. Get out, run, walk, jumping jacks, boot camp, whatever floats your boat, whatever it is that you like, yoga, Tai Chi. I really like Tai Chi. Like, I checked it out. Reading some things that exercise your mind as well as exercising your body. Early morning workouts, late night workouts, whatever it may be, do what works for you. Do what feels good to you. Do what fits into your schedule and those types of things. Here's another one. Here's one. Live and budget within your means. That's some financial stuff there. Check out what's your credit look like? Is there something that you could work on there? If your credit score is absolutely wonderful, is there a way that you can start getting into stocks, bonds, municipal bonds? I'm learning about those right now. Is there a way that you can, get in there? If your money is all out of whack, learn how to budget yourself. Practice living within a budget. If you're a card swiper like me, but you don't have any parameters on your swiping, try switching over to cash for a couple of weeks and see how you could work within a budget using your cash flow instead of just swipe, 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 swipe. Take a look at your money. What is your money doing? What is your money doing? We have on the website, jamilawellness.org, we did a masterclass where we covered spiritual wellness topics, mental wellness, physical wellness, emotional wellness, and financial wellness. And one of the points in the financial wellness that we covered was putting your money on a mission. How do you put your money on a mission? I need my money to work for me. I don't always want to work for my money. I want my money to work for me. So during this time that I've been hurt by something, as I'm working towards healing and gearing myself towards maturity, I'm going to focus on my money. I'm not going to focus on what it was that caused me hurt. Yes, I'm acknowledging it. And yes, I may be seeing a therapist for it, or I'm talking to my spiritual leader, or whatever it is that you've chosen to do. But during the time that you're giving it, because you got to give it some time, give yourself some time. You may not bounce back from everything the very next day that you wake up. During the time, what are you doing? Maybe I need to get my money together. Maybe I need to take another look at my finances. That's an option. Here's another one. Here's a good one. During the time when you're hurt, and you're getting over the hurt. Here's a big one, ladies. Manage your sexual appetite. I'm going there. Manage your sexual appetite. We are the emotional creatures. We love to be nurtured because we're always nurturing. So what happens during a time when we're blinded by hurt, pain, and we're probably resentful about whatever it is? There may be some bitterness involved. What happens when you find yourself in a sexual situation that you should have never been in? Let that sit for a minute. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. Manage your sexual appetite. Those are the times when marriages see infidelities. Those are the times when there's unexpected or unwanted pregnancies between people who really didn't even want anything to do with each other in the first place. Those are the times when we have our blinders on because I'm so hurt. I've been in this pain, but I'm that strong woman. So I'm going to act like nothing's bothering me. And I'm going to close my eyes to life until you open your eyes one day and you laying next to somebody you had no business even shaking hands with. And I'm going to stop there. Manage your sexual appetite, ladies. We have to pay attention to these things. And if we don't talk about it, we're not going to pay attention to it. And if we don't pay attention to it, nothing's ever going to change. We're never going to get better. One thing you don't do when you're feeling in your time by healing is jumping into bed with anybody else. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that is not a way to get over hurt and pain, by jumping into bed with a whole brand new person. So moving on. And the last point, this is funny that it comes right after this, something to do during this time. Stay away from situations that could complicate your life. That's easier said than done oftentimes, but remember, if you're acknowledging that you're in a state of hurt, if you're acknowledging that you're in a state of resentment, if you're acknowledging that you're in a state of pain, you're acknowledging that. I am walking around in pain right now. Maybe I don't need to make such big life decisions during this time. Yeah. Yes, strong woman. You are saying I am not strong enough to make this decision right now. I might need to table it for later. Judge Lynn Toller off divorce court made a comment when she said, you don't make a dollar decision for a nickel reason. Don't do it. You don't make a dollar decision for a nickel reason. Like the nickel reason is I'm lonely right now. And the dollar decision is I'm going to move in with that man. Now, I just told y'all about myself. I did it. There's a relationship years past. It's in the past. It's in the past. That relationship, Cinnamon moved in with him. The truth is, when I look back, we didn't love each other and we barely liked each other. But we were both looking for something. I was lonely. That is the truth. I was lonely and he offered me non-loneliness. But he was also offering another group of women the same non-loneliness. But I was not lonely. That's what I wanted. I made a dollar decision to tie myself to this person and live with you and lay with you for a nickel reason, loneliness. Did not serve me in the end. Did not serve me well at all. Caused me a lot of hurt and pain from a situation that I myself walked into, knowing I shouldn't have been there, but I was lonely. Don't make decisions that will complicate your life. Try really hard to avoid that, because here I am years later, still trying to financially put myself back where I was, and I'm real close, but still, how many years did that take? That complicated my life. Because I was lonely, all because of a decision I made during the time that I was lonely. So what are you doing during this time? Yeah, we're going to give it time. Yeah, we're going to do that. That's the easy answer. The hard question is, what am I going to do during this time that I'm giving myself to heal from this hurt and pain that I've acknowledged that I have? So, yeah, ladies, a little heavy, huh? It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to think about. So, here's the second question that person texts me. How do you not look at the person differently? The person being the one that caused the hurt and pain. This is when it got kind of sticky, and I'm going to take a sip on that. Take a sip of water. So now that you've acknowledged that hurt and pain has occurred, now that you've decided I'm going to give it time for healing to occur, I'm going to do some things, some productive things during this time while healing is occurring. But what if I run into that person again? What if I encounter that person again? How do I treat them the same? How do I not go and treat that person like they don't even exist, or like they've got the plague, or, you're this horrible individual. And I just wish that the earth would open up and swallow you whole, and your very existence from the day that you were born is erased from history. Now, I know I'm not the only person that's ever had those thoughts about somebody. I know I'm not. So, yeah, you just want the earth to open up and swallow them, and you never existed. That's what you want. I've wanted that for a couple of people. I'm not above admitting that. I have wanted that for a couple of people. So how is it that if you're like me and a lot of people run in circles together, that you may be invited to an event, or I may go to somebody's church or birthday party or wedding or whatever, and look across the venue, and there's somebody who has hurt me, and I'm still working through it, what that is. How do I not look at, and I think that person even meant treat that person differently? Okay, let's breathe this one through, okay? Because I'm about to say something that I mentioned it to someone else and they didn't really like what I said, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is how I feel. Is it possible? Is it at all possible that what you're seeing when you're looking at that person differently is what you should have seen from the beginning, but you couldn't see it because you were blinded from a hurt and pain from before that person? I'm going to ask this question again. Is it possible that who you're seeing is the person that you should have been seeing from the beginning, but you couldn't see that in the beginning because of you were being blinded by hurt and pain, that you were being Miss Strong Woman, that you were blinded by hurt and pain from a previous hurt, a previous person? We've done that. We've done that. We have done that. That has happened before. But we're going to learn how to move beyond that thinking. We're going to learn how to move past that thinking. And Katya says you forgive that person because you're not innocent yourself. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Go ahead and forgive that person because you've done some things to maybe some other people. Maybe you didn't do it to them, but you've done some things to someone else. Even in our ignorance, we may have done something that has hurt someone else and we don't even realize what we did. We don't even realize that what we said affected that other person so much. We don't know. It's in our ignorance. We didn't know. That's a possibility. That is an absolute possibility. But let's say this. Let me pick this up. This is a napkin, right? This is a napkin. If I ball it up real good, it might look like a rock, right? So let's say what I want is a rock because I want to throw it. I could be trying to skip rocks. I could be trying to break something. I don't know. For whatever the reason is, I want to throw this rock. But this paper is on the ground, balled up, looking like a rock. But I bend down to pick it up and realize, oh, this is a wad of napkin. It's a wad of paper. It's not a rock. I still have the desire to throw it and it go a distance. So what am I going to do with this paper? I'm going to throw it. It doesn't go anywhere. It goes maybe 6 inches from me, and maybe the wind has carried it somewhere. It didn't do what I wanted it to do because I wanted it to be a rock. But it never was a rock. It was a napkin. It was never a rock. No matter how badly you wanted that thing to be a rock, it's not a rock. It was a napkin. You treated it like a rock. You threw it like you did exactly what you said you would do if you found a rock. You did that. It still didn't work because it was always and will always be a napkin. Now, is that the napkin's fault for being a napkin? You are what you are. It is what it is. It's a napkin. But why am I going to expect someone who's a liar not to lie on me? Why am I going to get mad at that person? I knew you were a liar when I met you because you were lying about things that I knew weren't, I knew the truth about, and I listened to you lie about it. And so I decided to partner myself with you anyway in a friendship, in a courtship, in a romantic relationship, co-workers, friends, whatever. And then suddenly the day comes when you lie on me and I'm hurt. And now I'm looking at you like, that liar. Guess what? They were always a liar. That happened. An abuser, you see the signs, I've seen it, and not just physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, different sorts of abuse. Now, Shonda's on here. She could talk to you about violence. That's her thing. But we say it all the time, call a spade a spade. But when we're in our cloud of hurt from something else and we don't want to admit what we're seeing, we don't want to call a spade a spade. I want to call that spade a heart because I want you to be a heart so bad. So I'm going to flip that spade upside down and shave the top off, and then I'm going to paint it red and pray that you decide to be a heart and get mad when one day the spade shows up. It was a spade when you pulled that card. It was a spade then, it's a spade now. So how do we not look at a person differently? Absolutely, Katia, on the fact that, you know what? You did something that I didn't like. I've done something that other people didn't like. I'm going to give it to God and work in my healing and use this time to move forward and do something else. Another thing we could do is own the fact that, you know what? You are who you are, and I just didn't want to see you for what you were in the beginning. Either I couldn't see you or I didn't want to see it. The napkin is the napkin. It's not a rock. And no matter how I nursed it like it was a rock, no matter how I held it like it was a rock, no matter how I threw it like it was a rock, still a napkin. How do you not look at a person differently? Number one, maybe you need to. Not number one, but here's the next point. Maybe you need to look at that person differently because you didn't see who they were from the beginning. For your own reasons. For your own reasons. Like I said, I entered into a relationship because I was lonely. I knew this person had wayward ways. I knew that. That's why I wasn't shocked when I found out that I wasn't the only one. I wasn't surprised. I was like, well, kind of saw that coming because I did see it coming because I saw it in the beginning. But because my vision was clouded with loneliness, I wanted it to be something else so bad that when it turned out not to be that something else, I was so hurt. I can't look at that person differently. Honestly, I got to a point where I'm not angry with him. I'm not resentful with him. I'm not bitter about him. I actually feel sorry for him. I began to feel sorry for him because it was like, wow, you really feel like you have to surround yourself with women to the point where you hurt everyone in your wake because you're trying to fill something within yourself that's missing. Wow, man, I really hope you get that void filled. I really hope you allow God into your heart someday. Like, that's where I went with that. That's where I got with that. Because I used that time to reconnect with God, to learn myself, to start exercising, reading books, different things, exercise my mind and my body, and get back to cinnamon to where, guess what? When you spend your time doing that, you ain't going to be thinking about that person that did whatever it is they did to you. That's not your focus. You can't focus on you and what they did and whether or not they're going to do it to somebody else. You can't focus on all that at the same time. Pick what you're going to focus on. What are you going to focus on? I say during your time of healing, your time is better spent focusing on you. There's another Woman Law Wednesday video from season 1 called You Are Not Their Debt Collector. It is not up to you to make sure that they pay for what they did. That's not your job. Don't take on that role. You are not the debt collector. You are not. You are not their debt collector. Don't make that one of the things you do during the time. Because if all you're doing is focusing on collecting the debt that you believe that person owes, number one, you are never going to look at them differently. You are not using your time wisely. You're not going to get past that hurt and that pain because you were spending all your energy focusing on replaying what they did over and over and over again, over and over again. For what? And then trying to make them pay? Not that is a poor use of your time. I am going to close out on that note. But to sum up, the question of how do you get over hurt and pain? Number one, acknowledge the fact that you are hurt. Acknowledge the fact that you are in pain. It is what it is. You don't see people walking around with a broken leg trying to act like it's not broken. Like, nah, I never broke my leg. Nothing ever happened. Don't worry about that cast. It's not really there. Yeah, okay. You broke your leg. It is what it is. But it's taking the time it needs to take to heal. So that's the next thing. Give it time. Acknowledge your hurt and pain and then give it time. That's the easy part of giving it time. But the question you need to ask yourself, what am I going to do during this time? And my recommendation is whatever you do, let it be productive to you, not spending the time trying to make sure that other person pays for what they did. I see people on Facebook all the time. I got to blast this person. I got to let everybody know what they did. Poor use of your energy. Don't do that. I'm going to respond to that text. I'm going to make sure I'm going to screenshot this and put, poor use of your time and energy. Poor use. Put it to good use. Put your time to good use and nurture yourself. And if you need to, seek others that will help you nurture yourself, like a therapist or a spiritual leader or someone of that sort. Use your time wisely. And then not looking at that person differently, realize that you've done some stuff too. You've done some stuff too. Forgiveness is not something you just wake up one morning and just do. It takes practice. It takes practice to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to let that bother me. I'm going to let that go. No, I'm not going to ride out with this. No, I'm not going to hold on to that. Release that thing and let it go. Forgive and move forward. Notice the word forget did not come out my mouth because I can't tell you to do something that I won't do, that I can't do, that I have not yet learned how to do. Forgetting is something different. I'm on that next lesson. But forgive, absolutely. Do it more for you than for them. Again, a positive use of your time. Learning how to forgive so that if you happen to run into that person again, it doesn't come spewing. The hate and the resentment and the bitterness doesn't come spewing out of you. Because that's not what women do. That's what girls do. That's what some other language that I'm going to choose not to use. That's what they do. But those of us who have decided to mature ourselves into the women that we believe we ought to be, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to see you on site. No, we're not going to do what they show us doing on TV. We're not going to do that. We don't do that. But what we do is allow ourselves the time and the resources we need to get past hurt and pain and not hold it over that person's head as it's something as we move forward in our lives. I sincerely hope you enjoyed that throwback episode of Woman Law Wednesday as we talk about how to get over hurt and pain and not look at that person differently later. If you'd like to send a question or topic for this podcast, email cinnamon@jamilawellness.org. Be sure to like this podcast, love it, share it, rate it, comment, but most important, subscribe and follow. I am Naturally Cinnamon. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thanks for tuning in to Resilience Rising with Naturally Cinnamon. Life has a way of tossing unexpected trials and circumstances our way. We can't stop them, but we can better handle them by raising our resilience. Creative Director Jeremy Key for J Key Collective. Music by AJ Miles.